Good. Welcome, one and all. Welcome to the meeting of the Manchester Conservation Commission, held virtually on this Tuesday, January 14th, 2025. I believe this is the first night in about 9 without a football game, although I could be wrong about that. I appreciate everybody coming. This meeting is being held virtually for all of our mutual convenience under the continuing rules and regs of the Commonwealth and the governor. And that means there's a few ground rules. One is that in addition to taking notes, we are recording this. And if you prefer not to have your video recorded, you can shut off your camera. It also means that we will take all our votes by roll call tonight. And we will have periods where public comment and questions are appropriate during public hearing. And if you have a comment or a question at that point, please indicate by raising your hand physically or digitally on Zoom. And when you're recognized, identify yourself by name and address or affiliation. And try to limit your comments to 2 minutes and direct them to me. Let's see, what else? We have a chat function on Zoom, but you should use it exclusively for technical questions. It does not become part of the permanent record, so it's just not appropriate for questions or comments of any kind. And I think that's it. I'll now call the roll of commissioners and staff. Dr. Henry Ottinger.
Here.
Dr. Olga Hayes.
Here.
Sari Oseason.
Here.
Dr. Gordon Turner.
Here.
And I'm Steve Gang, chair. So we have a quorum present. We also have staff, or the nearest thing to it, our town director of land management, Mark Resnick. Welcome, Mark. And we are in hopes of having a full-time conservator or part-time professional conservation administrator shortly. So we open this evening with notices of intent, the first of which is 39 Coolidge Point Avenue, map 3, lot 27, DEP file 39-922. This is a continuation for installing a prefabricated pool with an associated pool deck and landscaping, and a portion of the work occurring within the 100-foot buffer zone to coastal bank. We've continued this a couple of meetings. We've had a site visit, and we have someone representing 39 Coolidge Point Road here. We do not. So maybe we will pass over this until
Our guys here.
somebody representing it comes, and we'll move to 12 Boardman Avenue, map 3024, lot 23, DEP file 39-925. This is also continuation for construction of four small additions to the building, reconstruction of a patio and walkway, and installation of an in-ground spa and outdoor shower. For Dr. and Mrs. Gurley, who are here tonight. Welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Sorry.
So,
How you doing?
And do you have your...
Yes,
You're a
I'm
consultant.
Mike Page from Grip Engineering,
Great.
representing
Welcome. Anything you'd like to bring us up to date on?
No, since the since the last meeting in the site walk, we had a approval from DEP for the Loma, which removes the residents and portions of the parcel outside the 100-year flood zone, which essentially puts us outside land subject to coastal zone flowage. I believe we sent a letter and the paperwork from DEP to Mark and Shannon. I think it was December 21st we sent it over. Other than that, there has been no changes to the plan.
Any questions or comments from the commission about the Loma or any of the submitted plans or documents?
Nope.
no.
Anyone in the public have a comment or a question about 12 Boardman Avenue? I'm hearing none. Mark, anything you need to add to this discussion, or can we move to a vote?
I don't have anything to add.
Great. So commission ready to vote?
Yes.
Then I will move, we close the hearing on 12 Boardman Avenue, DEP file 39-925.
Second,
Thank you. All those in favor? Henry?
Aye.
Marie?
Aye.
Gordon?
Aye.
Olga?
aye.
And I am an aye as well. No, don't do that.
Steve Gang.
Sorry. Ignore that. That's Siri attempting to call you when I named. Never mind. Anybody knows how to shut off Siri? That would be helpful because she confuses colleague's name with her name. Let's proceed to look at conditions for 39 Coolidge Point Avenue.
Oh, are we done?
And I think I can put those up on the screen.
Steve, do you mean Boardman Ave?
Yeah, you mean 12 Boardman.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Well, board. Thanks, Gordon. All right, is that now visible?
Yes,
Yes, thank
Thanks
you.
to our Ms. O'Season for this draft. So, activities, documents, findings are coastal bank and land subject to coastal zone flowage. I think that's still true, although the residence has been excluded from the zones, velocity
Yeah.
zones.
And there's no proposed work within the land subject to coastal foam flowage.
Thank you. General conditions are unchanged from our boilerplate. I'll just move through them quickly. Pre-construction. Does anybody know of outstanding orders of condition that haven't been closed on 12 Boardman?
that hasn't been before us for years.
Right. Okay. Construction period. These are also fairly standard. And post-construction, also standard. And here we get into the special conditions, which may be customized for this. So a pollution prevention plan for construction period would be filed and followed. Does 29 apply? Are there landscaping elements such as retaining walls or garden beds in the plan?
We're not proposing any retaining walls, and then planting beds. I mean, there's a couple of shrubs that are going to be relocated due to the additions.
Right.
But I don't think there's an extent really that detailed landscaping occurring.
Okay. We're also, as we usually do, issuing restrictions on pesticides, herbicides being applied to the lawn or gardens. Also fertilizers, some limitations on fertilizers. terms of slow release nitrogen and phosphorus content. De-icing chemicals, storage, pervious surfaces, the spa. This is our strict standard for swimming pools. Do you know what kind of water treatment you're going to use on the spa?
I do not know.
Okay. And then perpetual conditions apply to 30 through 36.
Okay.
Yeah. That makes sense. And one is added a long-term operation and maintenance plan for pervious surfaces. Any suggested additions, corrections to these?
Oh, that was pretty complete.
Nope.
Good job, Sari. Thank you. All
There
right.
it's probably somewhere at the top. Mark Resnick, and that's on all of them. Mark Resnick email, I believe,
Yes.
is incorrect.
Resnick. Oh, my goodness.
Oh,
What's,
thank you for catching that.
Wow.
yeah, interesting. Click on it. It goes to Kristen Farr.
Hmm.
Well, Sari, I can't edit this, so I'm going to leave it to you. Maybe I'll download it and then I can edit it, but that's good catch. Anything else?
And there was some place, I don't know if it was on this one or on Bridge Street, that it talked about Days Creek and riparian zone, but it might
Yeah,
have,
I think it's not this one, but
Not here.
yes, I know.
it was on another one, I
Oh,
think.
there it is. Yeah.
Oh, there it is. So I did
To
write it.
protect- So Days
Okay.
Creek and comes out. It's just protect the coastal bank.
Okay, so Days Creek comes out.
And then
So-
on 30 riparians, it's or salt marsh. It's about 15 lines down for number 30.
Yeah, we don't have a riparian zone here or salt marsh,
Right.
so that would denote.
So I had nothing to do but read these things, obviously, today.
Glad somebody's got to do it.
Yeah.
So the monuments should
delete
denote the
that,
buffer zone to
and-
coastal bank.
Replace Mark's address and delete Days Creek.
And riparian zone and buffer to salt marsh. Replace with coastal bank.
Okay,
And I think the
Okay.
Mark thing, Sari, is on all of them.
okay. Okay.
That is
so
right.
This is for Boardman. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'll make those changes and send them to Mark and Shannon.
Good. They can fill in the DEP numbers and such. So I'll hear a motion to issue this order of conditions.
So moved.
Thank you. Second,
Second,
all those in favor, Olga,
aye.
Sari,
Aye.
Gordon,
Aye. Aye.
Henry,
Aye.
and I am an aye as well. It's unanimous. Thank you, girlies, and thank you, Griffin Engineering.
Thank you very much. Have a good night.
You too. Do we now have somebody to speak on behalf of 39 Coolidge Point Avenue? No. Okay, let's move on then to 110 Bridge Street, map 22, lot 6, DEP file 39-924. This is also continued following a site visit. And it is, take a deep breath here, driveway relocation, patio installation, landscaping and grade changes, detached garage replacement, covered storage shed removal, barn renovation, fence construction, stream maintenance and channel blockage removal, and native plantings.
So,
Jay, are you here for this?
yep, good evening, Jay Blackwood with Hancock Associates. Here with me tonight is Caitlin White from our Wetlands Department, Prescott Logan, the homeowner, and Hillary Holtzworth, the landscape architect. So Steve mentioned a few Saturdays ago, we had a site walk. Plans haven't changed since then, and the team is ready to answer any questions from the commission.
Excellent. Are there questions from the commissioners?
No, but it's worthwhile keeping this thing because if you, from the DEP comments and I guess Jay's response, it's really worthwhile keeping because it pretty much tells you what to look at for these different resources.
Yep, inland bank.
Yeah.
Yep.
For all of them. So it's worthwhile keeping this in our book.
Good idea. How about from the public? Any questions or comments pertaining to 110 Bridge Street? I am hearing none. All right, commission ready to close this?
Yes.
I move that we close the hearing on DEP file 39-924 110 Bridge Street.
Second.
Thank you. All those in favor? Henry,
Aye.
Gordon,
Aye.
Olga,
Hi.
Siri.
Aye.
No, I did not mean Siri. And I am an aye as well. Maybe I could train her to vote for me. Let's talk about conditions for this one, which have also been prepared here by yours truly. And are here.
Great.
So there's the permitted activities, the various documents. We're talking about a bordering vegetated wetland, an inland bank for an intermittent stream, and an inland bank for a pond. General conditions are the same, presumably with the same mistake on Mark's email.
Yep.
Yeah.
What should that be if not Resnick M?
I think there are two ats in there.
That's the
Yeah.
problem,
Yeah,
of course. Done. Thank
There's
you.
a dot after that. Is that a dot or it's just the way the app looks?
I think it's just the the @ sign. Let me try it and see what happens. Yep, there we go. It's working. No, thank you. Stop helping me. Construction period. Standard. We skipped over the certificate of compliance, which I cannot remember. Is the work that removed the pool and regrading, has that been closed out?
It has, yes.
Okay, post-construction the same. Special conditions are for work by hand, although when you're regrading and delivering, planting large specimens, that can be done with appropriate machinery. Trees should be flush cut without removal of root structures. Any debris collected and taken off site. And only products approved for use in sensitive wetlands be used to inhibit regrowth. I said the removal of material blocking the intermittent stream channel should be at the minimum required to maintain water flow. Because we have a strong interest in making sure that stream banks, as messy as they may look, be maintained by the root structures and plants that support them as much as possible. Professional arborist involved for tree removal. I don't think there's any reason to require compliance with the town tree policy here. The trees are far from the street and they're not very sizable.
Steve, can you go to 27? Should that be BBWs?
Yes, it should. Wow, good catch. Thank you.
I'm not always attentive to this stuff, but today I was.
Survivorship, 2-year, 85% survivorship for the native plantings. Same restrictions on herbicides, pesticides, and chemical fertilizers. And same monumenting this one connected to the no disturb buffer zone. De-icing chemicals minimized. Hazardous materials stored above flood levels and far from wetlands. Permeable surfaces maintained. No additional alterations. And that means that 29, 30, 31, and 33 through 28 are perpetual. So that just leaves out the survivorship, because that should extinguish in 2 years as a condition. Then a long-term operation and maintenance to make sure that storm water is working impervious or pervious, and to maintain the native planting areas with native plant species. Any other suggested changes or additions?
São
No.
6h50
No, it's perfect.
Okay,
That looks
Steve,
good.
Steve, my only just a point of clarification, or
Yeah,
ask for
just
some
for the record,
clarification.
this is Prescott Logan, 110 Bridge.
Yeah,
Caramba, assim, eu vou muito, sou muito mais assim no escritório do que em campo, né, em obra.
on
Let's
the
see, could you mute yourself, or here, I'll mute you.
okay. On the invasive removal, I think that we went through it pretty quickly, but there was a comment that it has to be done by hand, or there was some. We have some invasives that are probably more than can be done by hand.
Yeah, some of the Norway maples and
Yeah,
those Japanese lilac.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I guess what we're after there is minimizing the use of heavy machinery there. So we could modify that to say regrading and large invasives and native species.
Okay.
Regrading, large invasive removal, and native specimen delivery and planting may use appropriate machinery. As long as you understand where we're coming from there.
Yeah, yeah, I understand. Thank you.
Sure. Any other comments, Caitlin or Jay?
Looks good on my end.
Excellent. All right, then I'll move we issue this order of conditions with the special and perpetual conditions for 110 Bridge, DEP file 39-924 as written. Second,
Second.
Second,
all those in favor? Ms. O'Season,
yes.
thank you. I'm just trying to fool my
Yeah,
artificial
no,
intelligence. phone here.
that's good. Took me a minute,
Uh,
but
Olga,
yes.
Gordon,
Yes.
Henry,
Yes.
and I'll make that unanimous. Thank you very much,
Great, thank
Prescott,
you.
Jay, Caitlin.
Thank you.
One more bite at the apple for 39 Coolidge Point. Anybody here tonight for that? Okay, we'll keep trying. That brings us to 48 Central Street, map 44, lot 19, DEP file 39-926. This is new, and we will stipulate that the required notices have been published and abutters notified. It's for proposed construction of a single-car garage, site improvements, and proposed mitigation plan. Portions of the work occurring within buffer zones to coastal bank and land subject to coastal storm flowage. Mike, is that what brings you here tonight?
That is what brings us here tonight. Hi, everyone.
Welcome.
Mike
You're
DeRosa.
welcome in any case.
Mike DeRosa, DeRosa Environmental, representing Richard Bedell, the new owner of 48 Central. Also tonight with me is Leticia Oliveira from Moore and Cameron Group. She's the engineer of record. And then, and Richard Bedell is also here, the owner of the property, on the call. I think what I'll do is ask to share my screen.
Yes, let me make sure you're entitled to do that. Go ahead.
There we go. And I will slide this over.
Not a bad sunset.
Yeah, that's the view from our kitchen window. So this is the site. This is the back of the house. The notice of intent, as everybody knows, a lot of the commission that's been on the board has been to this site. This was, we had proposed a similar project. We've reduced the scope this time around. The new commissioners, we may want to set up a site visit to look at it for those who haven't been there. And we can talk about the differences between the two projects. My thought tonight was to go through the new project, show you where we are and where we came to, and maybe do a quick comparison between the two projects, because as you know, the initial project was denied under the bylaw, but approved under the state. So we want to be right up front about that. We know, we know that this commission has had issues with this project here at this site. So Evan did a very detailed comparison between the two projects at the beginning of the NOI. I won't go through that now, but we can get into that if the commission wants to. Here we are, we're at inside the Inner Harbor. Sawmill Brook drains out here, and we're right over to the side of that. This is the site plan. I'll go to the colored one. So the main house is out on Central Street, which was redone by the prior owner. The driveway, as you remember, is kind of a common drive. It accesses the building to the left here, and also 48 Central. So it's kind of 48 Central has its own parking, and there's parking on this side as well for this building. No parking, obviously, out on the street or out front. So what we did, I'm going to zoom in here. Much of this is the same. What we did was we reduced this from a I think it was a 2-car before. We cut it way back to a 1-car garage. So it's a 1-car garage with the stairs on the seaward side. We've completely removed it from the no disturb zone before it was in the no disturb zone. Portions are still within the no build zone, however, because of it has to be next to the house and in that location. Evan also did a really detailed alternatives analysis. We can get into that as well, but the reason this location works is because it allows us to have a good radius into the garage. Then you can back out and enter head on into Central Street, because you don't want to back out onto Central Street. Let's see, we have conversion of pavement, what is now pavement to lawn. That's the green piece, so that mitigation remains the same. We have a similar sized rain garden, again, to take runoff and treat that. Two differences are this difference, we're going to keep this wooden platform or wooden deck that's out on the concrete wall. And then we'd like to add a pervious paver patio here. So this would be bluestone slabs or granite slabs with wide joints and reservoir area underneath. So it would be a legitimate infiltration system. The other two pieces, these two concrete pads, were installed by the prior owner. They were part of the proposal, but they got done. So what we're asking for here is sort of an after the fact approval of that if the commission does decide to approve the project, to do a, so we're including them on this as part of the proposed work, even though they're existing. This is the restoration plan, which is a classic
Mike,
rain
before
garden
you-
plan. Yeah,
Before you get in, there, quick question, those pads have sizable impervious? I can't tell how large they are.
no, they're, let me look. I don't know if I can scale them off this plan. They're not, they're just,
They're
one's
not
a
big.
generator pad and one's the air conditioner pad, so they're not big. But we can look at them at the sidewalk.
Thank you.
Again, here's the typical permeable paver section. So we'll have 8 inches of permeable gravel and then 8 inches more of larger gravel. So it'll definitely be a pervious patio. This is the planting plan. We've selected plants that can tolerate dry as well as wet conditions, like your typical rain garden. So we got soft rush, spike rush, path rush, seaside goldenrod, little blue stem, red fescue, and shrubby cinquefoil. The shrubby cinquefoil and little blue stem will probably be on the banks of it, and in the bottom will be most of the rushes. What else do I have? We do have, let me show you the overlay because I'm doing this in Illustrator so I can turn the different layers off. This was the previous project, so it shows the house, the driveway, the bigger garage, and the stepping stones and such. And then this is the currently proposed one, and that's why these two things, when we look at the numbers, we're slightly above on the, we still have a reduction in each zone, the no disturbance, no build, the 100-foot buffer, but not as much as the initial proposal. And largely it's because we're keeping these two things. We have the stepping stones again. We had those before. This all gets converted to grass like before. So a lot of this is the same. Largely the garage is smaller, significantly smaller. And this is the overlay that shows both. So most of this is the same, and this is new.
Yeah,
Let's
that's
see.
it. Thank you.
I think that's all. We're not in obviously rare and endangered or any of that.
Right. Well, let's see if there are any questions or comments from the commission, and if there's an appetite to go take a close look. Never hurts. But I gather the space behind, except for those pads and the generator and air conditioner, the space behind the house hasn't been altered very much.
No. This is all, pavement and everything the way it was.
Well,
I think
I have one question, because I know there's a number of docks in addition to Mr. Vidal's.
This one.
Will cars be parked on that prospective grass from time to time?
I don't foresee that happening. I think the parking is going to be limited to the new paved surfaces and the garage.
Got it. Henry, you have a question?
This is going to be curbed.
I do have a question. Mike, on the original, from the 2020 application, were they going to remove all of the asphalt to make that pervious, or just some as you have here?
Let me see. Let's go back to the overlay here.
Actually, I shouldn't ask that. What I should ask is, has the applicant considered removing all of the asphalt in this project?
Well, I think parking is a premium, and because there's nothing up on Central Street, I think we really need to hold on to what we can. And so, we're giving up about half of what's there now, or more actually. So I think it would be tough to give up much more. We can certainly look at that as a thing, but
Yeah, I'm not suggesting no one parks there.
Yeah.
I'm just suggesting it's gravel, not asphalt.
oh, I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
Do
Yeah,
something
or-
porous, like a porous pavement or
pavement.
let's we'll talk to Richard about that. I'll make some notes.
Great, thank you.
Good question, Henry. Anybody else? All right, interest in a site visit?
Yes.
Who among us has not seen it? I know David's seen it. Can't
I have not.
remember.
Gordon,
So,
I don't think,
yeah, I have not seen
Jeff.
it. So,
I don't think
I
Jeff has
I
seen
think it
anything.
would be worth seeing with a fresh eye to
okay.
this proposal.
Yeah, especially as we've got our thinking cap on about seawalls and other things, right?
Right.
Always helpful. How about this weekend? We've fallen into this Saturday morning habit, if that's doable.
Mhm.
yep,
I won't be around, but maybe Letitia, could you attend the site walk?
Sorry, what was the date? Sorry, could you repeat that?
It would be
Saturday?
this Saturday, yes.
18.
I can during the morning.
Fine.
Yeah,
We say 9:30?
sure, that works.
Okay.
Steve, I'm not available Saturday morning. So I guess I would ask Mike or Letitia whether the new owner would mind having members of the commission just walk back there and having a look based on our availability.
I think that would be fine. We can let Richard know.
Yeah. Thank you. I could
I'm happy
probably,
to meet. Yeah, I'm happy to meet people too. It's just
Okay.
this weekend we've
Thank
got
you.
plans to go away, so.
Good. Well, before we proceed, are there any questions or comments from the public about 48 Central? All right, then. I'll move that we continue with the applicant's consent, this to our February 2nd meeting, and schedule a site visit for this Saturday at 9:30.
Second,
Thank you. All in favor? Serene?
I,
Olga?
Aye.
Gordon?
Hi.
Henry?
aye,
And I'll make that unanimous. Thank you, Mike.
Great.
Thank you, Letitia. And thank
Thank you,
you,
everyone.
Thanks,
Dr.
Mike.
Bedell. One more try for 39 Coolidge Point Avenue. It was Bob Griffin, right? How does the commission feel about proceeding without, I mean, we've been over this a number of times because it started out as an RDA. We've done a site visit. How do you feel about proceeding without them being represented?
I'm comfortable with that.
I'm comfortable with that.
Good, okay. Well, then, any questions we want to ask ourselves about this site before we close?
Nope.
Good. And I'll
No,
move, we close the hearing on 39 Coolidge Point Avenue, DEP file 39-922.
Second.
All those in favor, Henry,
aye,
Serene,
I,
Olga,
Aye.
Gordon,
Hi.
and it's unanimous. We are closed, and courtesy Suri, we have a nice order drafted here. Voila. Okay. Installing prefabricated in-ground pool, some landscaping and drainage improvements, all in buffer zone. Small retaining wall. Coastal bank is the resource. Same general conditions. I believe the previous one has been closed out. Same mistake I can't fix here.
Right, I'll fix that.
Thank you. Yep, storage is far from the coastal bank. No blasting permitted. They are going to hammer. I guess they'll
We
come
have
back to
this
us if,
same
if you-
thing at Days Creek.
right,
I'll
so it's
move
just
that.
coastal bank here. Yep. And then completion. That's fine. Special conditions are pollution prevention plan. I think we need to take this out because the landscaping elements are going to be stone in this.
Okay. I'll take that out.
Or you could just say if wood is used, only untreated wood.
Steve, I hate to bring this up, but I'm looking at my notes here and it says we did this at our last meeting. Now, I may have taken the notes incorrectly.
No, I'm going to go with your notes. Let me do a quick check of, is there a final,
It says we reviewed and voted on them.
Yeah, that certainly would explain why no one's here for it.
Yeah,
I don't have one record. I have 35 Vine and 9 Proctor. I only have the draft, but you could still be right.
all right.
Um,
Well, we can still look at this. I mean, I think it's because you
yeah,
need one. You need an OOC, a set of OOCs regardless. But
yeah, we must have done this before then with the same corrections for Days Creek and bordering vegetated wetland. Yeah, that discussion of using green oak resonated because I remember Bob Griffin commenting on that.
that they didn't have any, you know.
Yeah.
That they didn't
Yeah.
have any wood. Yep. Okay.
I know I
Well,
had asked about blasting and stuff.
well, we asked them also about the pool.
Yeah.
Mhm.
We did. I think we adapted that language to the language we used for 9 Proctor, which was somewhat more permissive. Okay, folks, sorry about the fire drill. That's what can happen when we're too many cooks in the kitchen. Let's leave aside 39 Coolidge Point on the understanding that we've already handled it.
Thanks, Gordon.
Thank you, Gordon. We move to RDAs, the first of which is a repeat offender here, 43 through 76R Raymond Street, the beach, for raking and cleaning the beach of seaweed. Mark, has anybody come in and chatted with the you or Shannon about this one?
No, no one's come in for several months. Someone came in once at the beginning when we put this on, but not since.
Okay. Well, I mean, it seems straightforward, and I know we have done this at least once before, in my experience. So
I think might be what they're expecting, is that it's
Yeah.
just a continuation and that they didn't think they needed to be
come in.
present. So,
Well, I feel more comfortable if we had the prior RDA just for consistency in our conditions. So I imagine they're the same. And I can't remember whether we had tidal or seasonal or other kinds of conditions on there on the RDA. Does anybody remember those?
They can only do it at certain title conditions.
Right.
I don't
Let me see.
remember that there was that we had a lot of conditions on it.
No, I
Just
don't
that
think so either.
it would be taken away to the proper place and
Right, and they're going to enter and leave through the the boat
the
launch
far-
area at the far eastern end. I think.
Right, yeah.
Does anybody remember, is this a process that's typically done in the fall or the winter or the spring?
Yeah, good.
It's the summer.
Oh, nice.
What happened was 3 years ago with Chris Bertoli, we got a permit, 3-year permit in the event that we had a huge amount of seaweed on the beach that we couldn't physically rake. So she gave us a permit for 3 years. I guess the B&T has their own permit. So we got a permit for all the homeowners down from Kettle Cove condos down to the end. Everyone participated and wanted it, all the homeowners. So we had the permit in those 3 years. We did not need to get the seaweed removed, but we had an agreement with Tim McGinnis. He was going to come get it, and we had talked to Fricklin Farms. They were going to take it if we had a huge amount of seaweed, which did not happen. So after the 3 years, I went to renew the permit, which I paid for myself. I live at Kettle Cove condominiums. And I was told I had to just redo the application for the permit again. So I did do that. And that's why I'm here, just to get another permit in the event that we need it. So
That's very helpful. Thank you.
Great.
That's very
you.
helpful.
yeah,
So
so we
it
have
sounds-
everything lined up. We have the contractors lined up. We have all the homeowners here signed. They all were in agreement from here, from Kettle Cove condos all the way down to the boat ramp. And I know Manchester cleans the very end. They send Tim McGinnis, I think it is, down there at the end. But so we haven't had to do that, but sometimes in rare occasion, we get like 2 or 3 feet of seaweed, and it's horrible. It's like bugs and all kinds of stuff
Yeah, it
there in the
rots there
snow.
essentially. We get that.
Yeah. So we just need a
mattresses right
permit
now.
to be able to do that in the event that we need it.
Well, it sounds as though we could pass a motion here to renew the prior 3-year permit under an RDA
Great.
with the exact same conditions.
Yeah, that would be great. Shannon already has a check from me. I already
Okay.
gave him the money, so.
Well, I'm going to turn that into a motion then, that we renew for another 3 years the permit that has probably by now expired with the same conditions attached to it.
I'll say,
Great.
Thank you. All those in favor? Henry?
Aye.
Gordon?
Aye.
Olga?
aye,
Sarit?
Aye.
And I'll make that unanimous.
Great.
Thanks for coming,
Great,
Deb.
thank
That was
you.
very
Thank you.
helpful. This
Thanks,
brings
thanks
us
so
to
much.
an RDA for 18-20 Butler Avenue. Local number only, which is a construction of an addition to an existing garage or guest house at that address, map 1, lot 43. These activities occur in the outer buffer between 50 and 100-foot buffer to vegetated wetland. And is someone here tonight to talk about 1820 Butler?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, for the record, John Judd, engineer with Gateway Consultants, representing the McCarthy family. Mary McCarthy is here and available to answer any questions for this project at 18 through 20 Butler Avenue. This is a residential property that has a garage toward the back. And if it's okay, I'll share my screen and show you some
Please do.
information. Specifically the site plan that hopefully you see in front of you. And what we have here is the existing house. The dwelling is here, and then the garage is here. And then there is an existing deck that serves the second floor of that garage, and below that is a concrete patio. I did submit some photographs, and I can pull those up if you'd like, if needed. Otherwise, I can just further explain that we are 84 feet to the wetland edge, which is offsite, behind the property at the closest point. So we're about 16 feet into the buffer zone with this proposed addition that would take place largely over an existing concrete patio and replacing an over second story deck that exists there now. We have proposed erosion control toward all the limit of work. It would be aligned and fortified with that. And again, this was a request for determination that was filed prior to the last meeting. However, due to the workload on the agenda, we were not able to be placed on the agenda. So the McCarthy family is quite anxious to obviously move this along. If there's any questions, we'd like to answer those. And I do have a photograph that'll be helpful, Mr. Chairman, if you'd like me to bring that up.
It probably is, but before you do that, John, what's the change in impervious surface? You said that some of this is already covered with.
Yes, it's just over 100 square feet. So while I have that, Mr. Chairman, you can see that the stairs here in the deck are over a concrete patio, and I'll pull up that photograph. So we have about 3 feet beyond that concrete and over on that side, and about 10 feet here on this side here. So it's just over 100 square feet of roof line that would be over an increase in impervious area, to answer your question.
And what kind of construction are you envisioning? Is there a basement or a slab, or what's going to?
This would be a slab on grade. Yep. So there's
Okay.
no full foundation proposed.
Got it. Any other questions while the pictures get queued up from the commission?
Yeah, John, is there mitigation planned?
For that 130 square feet, it's actually a little less than that. We have not proposed it, but there's an opportunity anywhere in the back here. We do have some overstory here, some larger trees. For the most part, it's all lawn area here, so there would be an opportunity maybe in the back here to provide. I'm not sure if the commission wants 1-to-1 or maybe a little bit more, but of mitigation planting, of native mitigation planting on the property. We could certainly do that closer to the resource area in this location if the board chooses.
Okay, thank you.
I think it's usually 1.5 to 1 in the outer buffer in the bylaw. Just as a rule of thumb. Thanks, Henry. Other questions? Olga, Sari, Gordon?
I'm good.
Okay. Let's take a look at those photos. That will be helpful.
All right. Now, you've challenged me here. Let me see if I can do this.
Well, while we're doing that, does anybody in the public have a comment on 18 or 20 Butler Avenue? There you go.
All right. I have it here, and I'm not sure if this is helpful. You can sort of see the photograph here, and I'm trying to make this reduced screen so you can get a better look at that photo. But I think you
maybe
see
the little arrows up above, the diagonal arrows above the picture would blow it up. Just to the right.
Let me see if I can do that. And
On the bottom.
is that helpful there? Do you see more of the photograph?
It's fine for me because I have a huge screen, but can others see this?
Yes.
Yeah, can see it.
So we have a concrete slab that goes beyond the stairs. So again, we'd be extending out to just about here, almost to the edge of this existing concrete step and then extending down here. And again, you can see it's all impervious here, but we certainly could provide that 150% further back behind there. And you can see beyond in the background here, you can sort of see the lawn, and that's pretty much what the entire rear of the property is with, subject to the trees that are overstory. There are a few which would not be disturbed. There's no trees to be removed in this project.
Good.
Is this in a FEMA flood zone?
No, we're outside of that. That's shown. That's further back behind the project. So we're outside and above that flood zone.
Excellent. That's good news. Okay, let's have a little discussion here because, this is one of those that kind of tests the limits of what's an RDA. Technically, you remember an RDA requires us to find that either there isn't any resource or buffer zone, which is not the case here, or there's not going to be any impact on the resource or buffer zone from the work. So generally, my rule of thumb is a couple of footers within the 100-foot zone is fine, but as soon as you start putting in foundation material and others, it's just that this one is only a small increment on existing foundation and impervious. So it really is how do others feel about it?
It seems to me, I'm very much in favor of the idea of mitigation planting. That seems very, very appropriate here, given the site and the degree of change. But I'm comfortable having it be an RDA as long as we can condition that with mitigation planting.
Yeah, I agree with Siri.
And I agree.
I agree.
That's well put. I also appreciate the fact that you've done an engineered plan as opposed to a sketch on a napkin, which is what we often get for this kind of project. With erosion control and some clear definition of dimensions and things like that. So, ready to vote?
Yeah.
Okay, then I think I will move that we issue a -3 determination for work within the buffer zone that's not going to have measurable impact on the resource. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. All those in favor? Olga?
Aye.
Gordon?
Aye.
Henry?
Aye.
3.
Aye.
And I make it unanimous. Thanks, John.
Thank you all very much. Have a good night.
Thank you.
Good job. Which brings us to a request at 17 Proctor to extend the existing order of conditions. This was for raise and rebuild of a single-family home, construction of a pool. Anybody here for this tonight, Mike?
Hi, everyone. Mike DeRosa, DeRosa Environmental. Yeah, we just need one more year for the growing season for the plantings. So if we could extend to March 1st, 2026, that would be great. That'll give us another growing season.
Anyone have any headache about that?
No, sounds reasonable.
All right, let's hear a motion.
Sure. I'll move that we extend to March 1 of 2026. The existing order of conditions for 17 Proctor, file 39-0864.
Second.
Thank you. All those in favor? Olga?
Aye.
Siri?
Aye.
Gordon?
Aye.
Henry?
Aye.
And I am an aye as well. Thank you, Mike.
Thank you, everyone. Have a good night.
You
Thanks.
too.
You too.
I'm not going to stick around for the after party.
No, next time.
Now we have a request for a partial certificate of compliance completion from 94 Bridge Street, which is a pier, float, and gangway on Whittier Cove, along with the seawall restoration. Susan is here tonight. Yes, I think she is.
Yes, I'm
Welcome.
here. Good evening.
I'd say
Any editorial comments, or does anybody have any questions about this request?
Yeah, I would just like an update as to the reasoning, the project not completed and why that might be.
Well, first of all, it took us a while to get the Chapter 91 license. So the only thing that's not completed at this point is the plantings have been installed. Mike DeRosa did the salt marsh restoration plan, and he submitted a report, an updated report on the progress in October. And everything looks really good. And they will be submitting a final, hopefully a final report at the end of next year's final growing season. And that's when we would be requesting the final certificate of compliance. So the pier is built, the seawall's installed. The only thing that we're waiting for is the salt marsh restoration to take hold.
Mhm.
And Mike's been overseeing that.
Susan, I have a question. The
Sure.
letter, the engineer's letter says this was built in substantial compliance, but it doesn't list any specifics. Is there anything that we should pay attention to that makes it substantial as opposed to complete compliance?
No, it's in complete compliance. I don't know why he didn't say that.
I don't know why either. It's one of those sort of make you look tiny bit suspicious words.
Anybody on the commission want to take a look at the wall? I would love to see the seawall.
I have some photos of it,
Oh,
if you want to see them.
And I've
During
looked
cons-
at it from Tux Point.
Yeah, I've inspected it routinely from Tux with the dog and from the kayak. So
Yeah.
I've watched it grow back into what looks like a pretty authentic old seawall. It was a very nice piece of work.
Yeah, we're very happy with the work. Do you want me to bring up the photos?
Sure, please
It
do.
was it was during construction, so it's not the final.
fine.
So that's the as-built plan. At one point, these two piles were out on the seaward edge, but we went before the commission and moved them back there.
Mhm.
So let's see here. Get that out of the way. That's the letter. So here's the photo of the seawall being constructed. They really did a nice job. And then there's another photo looking out towards Whittier Cove. That's that area that kind of angles down,
Mhm.
and the back of the wall, and then the edge that turns towards the MBTA rail line. So we're happy with it. And then this is I don't know, this might have been during the transition when Chris was leaving, but this was submitted in October. So it should be in the files with the Concom.
Yes, monitoring report.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
they planted in the summer, so June or thereabouts. And then they submitted this report, and then they hope to complete the planting, and hopefully there'll be a 75% success rate by the fall.
That'll give us 2 growing seasons. That's good.
Yeah,
Great.
and that was a requirement of the commission.
Yep, this was primarily beach grass, Saltina or something, right? Spartina.
Not sure what they ended up planting there, but they had to have some that's some of it gets inundated, during not the higher tides, but the medium high tide, and some only gets inundated during higher tides. So I think they had to do different species.
Gotcha.
So what are we looking for, Susan? October of 26 or 20?
No, next year, the fall of next year,
So
2025. I mean, this year.
This year.
Yeah.
Yeah. It should be the second growing season for beach grass if it was put
Yeah.
in June.
Right.
And according to this report, it was not thriving, but it was certainly
Yeah,
established.
actually, I have some photos of that too. So these are in that report. So this shows after the core logs were put in. And then this shows the plugs. That was in July. And it shows a close-up of the plugs that they put in. And then you can see that inundation there. And here is in September, so it really was starting to come in nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they're happy with it. That's the end of that.
Stuff. Looks like it was well done.
Yes. So that's why we're seeking a partial. We need to get a certificate of compliance from Chapter 91 for the pier and the wall. So we need to have this partial from the Conservation Commission before they'll issue their certificate of compliance. The salt marsh planting wasn't part of their approval.
Understood. Henry, do you want to take a look at it before you before we take a vote?
No, the pictures are, look good to me.
Well, I'll move that we issue a partial certificate of compliance for 94 Bridge Street, file number 0390852.
Yep, and that will
Second.
cover the hardscape and the seawall restoration, but not the plantings.
Right.
I second. All those in favor? Sari,
Aye.
Gordon,
Aye.
Henry,
Aye.
Olga.
Aye.
I agree as well. Thank you, Susan.
Thank you.
For
Have a
all
good
these, thank
night.
you.
You too.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye-bye. This brings us to enforcement issues. Some of our old favorites are back, 68 Pine Street. Mark, anything new there? Last we hadn't heard. But I think the last letter Shannon sent was actually certified and return receipt requested.
I don't think we've heard anything from there.
Right. Anybody know if that house is actually occupied? Gordon, have you
Yes,
been by that time?
I mean, I think
so.
it is. I just haven't really seen the people, but there's activity there.
Yeah. I
When we
think-
got our little teeny bit of snow, there was a little girl trying to make a snowman right
Ah,
there.
okay.
Yeah, I don't know if it's owner occupied or if it's rented or,
I think it's owner occupied.
okay. Well, what's the right way to get their attention?
Well, when would this certified letter have been received?
I don't know. We'd have to ask Shannon.
Yeah. So I would say we wait a week or two after that, and then we may need to knock on the door. And just require a conversation.
Yeah, well, we can't force them to talk, but we can certainly hand them the request
Right.
and explain to them that, you know, at this point, our only recourse is more severe enforcement order, et cetera, and penalties.
But we also should explain to them that they can do a stream crossing, but they have to come before us
Right.
with some kind of
In fact,
permit.
yeah, they having put a scenic piece of wood construction across there might not be a huge yank to improve it up to standards, DEP standards.
I'm thinking if all they're hearing is that they're in trouble rather than that there is a way forward.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think we should appoint you as the designated door knocker.
I'll.
Second.
Somebody wants to issue a letter, I will be happy to knock on the door.
Okay, well, we have a letter that says, would you please, pretty please come to the next meeting? But I think that the date in there is October, so.
Oh, so, and what about this? Well, we need to know from Shannon when the certified was sent. I'll knock on the door. I don't
Okay, I'll
mind.
make a note to contact Shannon or Mark can, and then we'll decide
And,
based
you
on.
know,
what-
and I'll end up getting shot or something.
Let's
Then
hope
you'll
not.
all feel bad.
We would.
But
be
I'll
They're
do
different.
friendly.
I'll do it.
Yeah. Just don't wear your red baseball cap.
God, no.
We also have potential violations listed here for 59 Pleasant. Potential and 208 Summer. 59 Pleasant is the one of the houses that has marsh in the back, right at the corner of Pleasant and whatever that's called, old Essex, or no.
Oh, back there on,
Yeah.
Old
Yeah.
Essex and Pleasant, sort of at that.
Yeah,
corner
Old
there.
Essex and Pleasant, and one of the people there has gradually filled in or covered up now with wood sheets, areas back there so they can use them for parking and other things.
I
Good
believe we have
evening,
maybe
Mr.
a.
Chairman.
Hi,
Bridget Sando, property owner, 59 Pleasant Street. I received,
Thank you for coming.
No, I'm here. I
Appreciate it.
spoke to Shannon today. I
Good.
received a letter in the mail yesterday at 5 o'clock, and here I am, and
Yay.
interested in knowing what we've done. We've lived here 14 years, and what we were told is what we do. So please let me know what is going on at 59 Pleasant Street.
Okay, well, generally, we protect those wetlands, and that
Yes.
includes a little bit of buffer before you get right into the actual wet soil area. And I'm pretty sure that your property, like most of the ones right there along Pleasant and Old Essex, is in the buffer zone, may have some wetland in your property itself. So you have to check with us before you fill it in or put down pavers or pavement or even temporary stuff like parking material, which I observed last time I was there. So I think it would be helpful, and Shannon can help you with this, I think, to just put together a little presentation on what's there with some photographs and come back to our next meeting, February 2nd. And either if we had a full-time professional conservation administrator, he or she could do this process, but we can do it in the meeting as well. And since we don't have anybody in that position, it's probably better just to come in and chat with us. But I really appreciate you coming tonight.
But could I ask one question? So the violation is what, may I ask what the violation was? That's what in the letter was not described, so it's unclear. The wood piece that was parking has been there, and it's, from what we know, it's on our property, and from what we know, is not in the buffer zone. So that's where so it's the piece of wood that's being used, is what's in the question?
Well, first of all, was that piece of wood there when you moved in 14 years ago?
No.
Okay.
It's in that near our driveway, and it tends to get wet from the dampness. So it's in our property line, and from we know it's not on the buffer, but I am interested in learning more from Shannon as you described.
Okay. Well, the buffer is pretty large. It's 100 feet from the edge of the wetland. So it probably comes out to Pleasant Street, meaning your whole lot is in the buffer zone.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and you're not alone. There's a lot of people along Brook Street or Vine or Pleasant Street that have similar situations. It doesn't stop you from doing things. It just means we need to have a conversation. In some cases, we have to issue a permit for those kinds of things. But
and I'm not sure the history of this, Steve, but somebody had reported to us at a previous meeting that maybe there was something new happening in the backyard, or maybe somebody had walked by and seen the wood and was wondering what's going on there. Is there new construction going on, which is, I believe, why we asked them to send a letter to the homeowner.
Mr. Turner, we had some landscaping done in October, and at that time, it was reported that we had 2 sick trees in our backyard. So those 2 trees were cut down because of the fear they would fall on the properties of the neighbors, and that they were sickly. So we've done that. So that is the only thing we've done. No construction here. Only thing that we've done is cut trees. And speaking with Shannon now, again, we're from Danvers originally. So in Danvers and Peabody, cutting down a tree, and I didn't think, now talking to Shannon, who's been very helpful, I don't even know, I'm like researching all of this now because I'm not familiar. When you live in the city, cutting a tree is no big deal. Apparently in Manchester, which I'm still not sure, it might be a little different about cutting down a tree. So I was fearful they were going to fall on the neighbors, and they were sick.
Yeah, no, we're not opposed to taking out trees that are a hazard, but again, we protect the wetlands. So if the tree happens to be in the wetland, then it's in our jurisdiction, and we like to have a say about what goes on before you cut it down.
Yes.
The same thing, even if you're just using these wood sheets for parking temporarily during when it's really wet. Again, there might be an easier, longer-term solution that we can suggest to you for that.
That would be wonderful. And I'm looking forward to hearing more options and what I need to do here.
Okay, so if you can come back, we can, we can see what Shannon's come up with, because, you know, he's getting up to speed. He's working with Concom, but also with some other departments in land in the town. So he's not a full-fledged conservation guy, but he's learning fast because he's a really smart guy.
Yes. Could I ask one more question? And I'm thankful for all your answers. Was it the neighbors that were concerned, or where did this violation come from? Did
I don't really know.
Okay.
It came up as an issue. I think probably somebody phoned in, and as Gordon said, we don't know if it was someone walking past. It could be that it came from the other side, because there's been some attention to that big marsh that comes almost out behind your house, because of work that's going on the other side of it, over on Bigwood, I think it's called, and Windermere Park Extension.
Yeah.
Because it is a sizable marsh, therefore kind of valuable, and a real obstacle to people building things out there.
Steve, can you clarify? Do we know that there was a violation, or was the letter phrased as a potential violation, and we'd just like to hear from
It was
you?
all potential violation, because nobody's actually come on your site. Obviously, we would ask your permission before we did that anyway, to look at it. And if we had a conservation administrator, that's the very first thing we do. He or she would say, "Can I come? You know, would you show me around, and I can give you some advice?" And that's probably our ordinary next step. But if you can bring some photos to the next meeting, we can handle it that way.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for your time.
Again, thank you for coming. Yeah. The other one here is 208 Summer Street, which is a new house construction, one of two houses in that driveway that goes in, you know, just after you go onto the railroad and start heading up the hill on Summer Street toward Hickory Hill. The issue there is that hillside, which is mostly not jurisdictional, but it all slopes down into wetlands just on the other side of the new driveway. That hillside has been stripped. And first, all the trees and vegetation were removed, and it was left unprotected, unstabilized for, I would say, more than a year. And now you may remember we negotiated about the placement of the house, because there was a vernal pool. There was a vernal pool behind it, and the house was relocated. And now there's some very extensive hammering and/or blasting going on there, and granite pieces the size of a condo are kind of being moved around on the site. And it's the same situation. There's erosion control down on the driveway that was there from when the driveway was built 4 years ago. So it's not really functioning, I don't think. And it's an unprotected steep slope. If it were a matter of months and they were in active construction, you know, maybe we just turn a blind eye, but it's now a matter of kind of years, I think. Everybody know the place I'm talking about?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So the question is, should we contact the builder and say, you know, you really ought to stabilize that, or, you know, start some erosion control to benefit that wetland at the bottom of the hill?
I think we should. It certainly seems to be directly impacting that wetland.
Right. Good. I didn't think that the fact that it's outside our jurisdiction, most of the land is outside our jurisdiction, would affect our ability to say, you know, you can't allow this material, silt, sediment, anything out, construction debris, to find its way down into the wetland. All right, I'll ask Shannon's help in identifying the builder. I don't think the property's been sold. I think it's a spec house, but I'm not sure. Find out.
Sorry, Steve, this is the one we just reviewed recently?
Right. Yes.
Very recently. Yeah, we objected to the placement of the house on the driveway.
Right, and they ended up moving it around and stuff.
That's
Did
Hancock
we not?
Engineering.
We did not have any conditions that we issued as part of that related to stuff flowing down the hill. You know, I guess
The problem is that our jurisdiction was just over the top of the
up
hill.
at the top,
going
yeah.
the other direction.
Right, so we weren't paying
yeah, we
attention
did.
to this other
Yeah, we
wetland.
paid attention
Yeah.
to erosion control for that part of the work.
Right.
But the non-jurisdictional stuff, which was mostly the driveway and the whole front lawn,
Yeah.
that one would be chancy. I don't think we can issue conditions on stuff that's outside our jurisdiction. Oh, it's a good question for the circuit rider or MACC, because I'm sure this comes up other times when people build on steep hills.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like our jurisdiction is the wetlands, regardless of what may not be part of that property, but
Right.
if they're
Well,
impacting a
we were-
wetlands through
Right.
We
their
were singing from
runoff.
my songbook. If I had my way, everybody putting high-powered, high nitrogen, fast release fertilizer on their
Would
lawns
be in our
and
jurisdiction. I
having it
guess.
running into the
That's
harbor
right.
would be under our
Okay, fair enough.
jurisdiction, but
All right.
not so.
Okay.
We can all, maybe we can all drive by and take a look at it. It
Uh,
was Hancock
you could-
Engineering who did that project.
And
What's
you'll,
their name?
when you
Rocket-
do drive over
Hancock.
there, you'll see
Hancock.
how significant it is.
Or,
Yeah, you can
yeah,
pull
no,
into
I know
their
what it looks like.
driveway.
I just
it's
didn't
a dirt
actually
driveway,
walk
but
on
it's-
it to see where the water's running to the wetland.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good. And it shows every sign of being worked on, but I don't go past it enough to actually monitor. I haven't seen active construction work. Okay, other things. We can have an update on beavers. Actually, Thursday, Mark Resnick and I are going to take a walk out to the Onion River again, the thing that's on the border with Beverly in the Western Woods. Because the guy who monitors beaver activity there in Beverly is complaining that they must be, new crop of beavers must be at work. It could also be that the pond is iced over, and when it rains on top of an icy pond, the water level can back up. So we'll find out. And if there is a lot of beaver activity there again, despite the expensive beaver deceiver that was put in last year, then we'll call Beaver Solutions to come fix it. Mark also fielded a request out on Ledgewood, just the other side of the railroad tracks from the 208 summer that we've been talking about, is a low-lying residence that has drainage out of Dexter Pond. And apparently the beavers have done something to increase flow into that property. So I think that one, Mark, you can bring us up to date, but that's probably progressed to the stage where DPW and the Board of Health are gonna get somebody to remove the beavers.
Yeah, yes, that's correct, that they submitted a request to do that, so that's been signed and sent back to them.
Okay. Yep, not our hunt or our budget.
Speaking of budget, Mark, did we propose anything for the budget cycle for dealing with beavers to the town? this go around?
I don't think we put that into this year's budget. We did adjust the budget significantly, but I don't think we put that specific item in there. I know we talked about it, but by the time, you know, they've
Okay.
already got the budget put together by the time we did that.
Mhm.
Well, months ago, probably in the spring, I put a request in front of Greg to add at least $10,000 to replenish our conservation fund
Right.
for this specific purpose. That was after we got the bid for the work under the boardwalk in the Wilderness Conservation Area and realized, you know, we're not dealing with $1,000 anymore. We're dealing with $3,000 or $4,000 or $5,000 projects. I don't know whether he acted on that, but you know, I put the oar in the water early on that. Hopefully he did.
I'll check on the that
Yeah.
We also, Mark, talked about putting a line item for maintenance of things.
Yeah, trails, kiosks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bridges.
We never picked a number for that, did we, Olga?
No, we did not. We kind of punted it along.
Yeah.
And
We
actually,
could
Ken,
always show
and
up to town meeting and make an amendment, right? That
Yes.
scare people
well,
that
the-
their
the
properties are gonna
budget-
flood if they don't fund
Yeah.
it.
Hmm,
Yeah,
Sorry, but Mark, if you can
budget's
check
not-
that.
Yeah, the budget's not finalized, so let me discuss this with Greg.
Easier to work through Greg and the finance
Yeah.
committee. Because we're not asking for the moon here. Just a little beaver control. Okay, letter permits, tree permits, emergency certifications.
I don't
don't
think
know.
I've issued any. I was away for 2 weeks and I haven't done anything, I don't believe, in the last week.
Okay,
So
Henry, your hand is up.
It is.
What's up?
Changes to fees.
Yep,
First, I
that's
want
on-
to say that, I
on
think
my
we got
list.
this information 6 weeks ago or 2 months ago, and
Yep, October.
thank Lydia for doing that. And if that's something that needs our approval, let's vote it in. It looks very straightforward to me.
Mm-hmm. I'm just trying to get it up on the screen. It was pretty straightforward. She didn't, go crazy on any of the suggestions.
Right.
Well, you should have it in your email because I circulated it again this afternoon.
Yeah,
yeah,
I think
No,
that we've
there
all
it is.
Can we
I'll
vote
just
it?
stick it up here. Mark's reminded me that when we change our regulations, we need to put them out in a public hearing and then vote at the following hearing.
Hmm.
So, see if I can
Is
get,
this the hearing at
yeah.
which we are putting them out?
I suppose it is, because they've been circulated to us. We have not exposed them to public view. So here goes. I'm gonna put
I
them
think we
on
can
the
do that.
screen and make them a matter of public record. Okay, public, here it is. These are the proposed new regs. Can anybody read that, or are they too small?
no,
Yeah, it's fine.
That's good.
Okay,
And is that also information, Steve, that anyone could request from Mark or yourself?
Yes.
Or great.
Yep.
It's out there.
okay, so none of these is none of these is inconsistent with the comps I gathered from a lot of different towns. And it returns us to these category designations that DEP set up a long time ago, which we had not really lined up we hadn't been aligned with. And you can see that we distinguish the scope of the project, whether it's residential, commercial. We double things for after the fact. And we also double it for expired orders. And that's the proposal. So everybody in the public, you're now on notice. We're going to vote this on February 2nd. And likely we'll also try to vote these new specifics for vernal pool performance standards. So I will put those up as well.
So Steve, just a question on the filing fees. I had written to you and Mark before the
Yes.
break, just an idea about, if we're updating the fees, could we include a fee to cover the cost of registering the orders of conditions with the Essex County deeds. I think we've talked about this before a little bit here, that it's the homeowner's responsibility to file those with the registry. But I believe we have some examples where that didn't happen, like 68 Pine Street. You
Right.
guys have any thoughts on that? Because like
Yeah,
we
my
do request a
only,
fee for the newspaper filing and things like that.
right, my only hesitance is I don't know if a third party can record something on somebody else's deed. I mean, certainly the
see.
sheriff can, if it's a levy or a lien.
Yeah.
But I don't know if I can walk in there and say, you know, I'd like to put this note on Gordon Turner's property.
So it's maybe premature to include it in this round of fees, but maybe it's something we could look into. It would seem like maybe
Well,
we could
does
just
anybody know
include an
that?
affidavit for the homeowner to sign this and give us permission or something like that, and then
Yeah, we
could do
might
it.
have to. Exactly.
So I believe the Conservation Commission records, I mean, not Conservation, Zoning Board records their decisions after the appeal period's expired.
Ah,
However, I don't know whether they have to have a formal vote to do so and record that at the registry with the registrar. I mean, there may be a process that needs to be, so I'll add that to the list of things here and
Thank you.
try and find that out.
And I don't want to create a ton of work for the administrator and all that. It just feels like it's a really unfortunate thing when it doesn't get registered for
Right.
future homeowners.
All right.
well, especially when the house is then sold, it's
Right.
kind of a deceptive practice, put it bluntly.
Yeah.
That's a good catch. Any other comments on that? Mark caught the insufficient fee for publishing in the Cricket. We'll change that. Okay, on to performance standards. I realize I haven't reduced these to a formal proposal, so I'm going to save them for February 2nd. But the gist of it is that right now our bylaw regulations list vernal pools in using adjectives. Performance standards use adjectives, not numbers. So they look like this. Says any alteration which impacts topography, soil structure, plant community composition, vegetation canopy or understory, hydrological regime, et cetera, et cetera. But, you know, how much impact? So I had dug into these other state standards, surface water quality in particular. And surface water quality says, you know, there is a specific quantity for dissolved oxygen, for thermal, for temperature change, for pH alteration, for extent of solids, for color and turbidity, for oil and grease, that's pretty much none, and taste and odor. And there are standards for Class B waters.
So Steve, my question is what would we be asking the applicant? Would they need to do testing of the vernal pool that's near their property or on their property for these things before they begin the work?
Not necessarily, Olga. I'm thinking of conditions where water is going to reach from the project. Water is going to reach and continue to reach a vernal pool. And in most cases, you know, we encourage people to site away from the vernal pool sufficiently that that's not going to happen, the grade and whatnot. A notable exception is building on top of a hill, for example, Shingle Hill. If there's vernal pools at the toe of the slope, what you have to do is provide ways to treat the water, which you know is going to end up there. You can't stop it. It's gravity. Can't store it all anywhere. And then these things would become applicable. So when you know that water is going to end up from your project over the long term is going to end up in a vernal pool, these will be the standards for what happens. And yeah, I mean, I suppose under those conditions, we would put in a monitoring condition, just like we would for a pervious pavement surface or a stormwater management system that says, you know, every year you need to go out and sample dissolved oxygen, temperature at this time of year, tell us what's going on.
So we would have to set a standard for vernal pools for these things.
Yeah, although these would give us the quantitative standards that would matter a lot.
Right. I'm just
and-
wondering if there are any non-construction impacts that could also affect some of these standards in a vernal pool. I just don't know how we would manage it, but we can talk about it next time.
Yeah, I
It's how
get
to
your point.
manage it. That's
I
what's
think-
confusing me.
Yeah, I think there are situations where we, you know, invasive removal, for instance, we require that people go back over the course of the next couple of years in many cases to make sure that their initial destruction of the Phragmites works. And typically, you know, they know they're going to have to, and they know that even after they get it so it doesn't come up for a couple of years, it's probably still going to come back. So it becomes kind of a perpetual issue. And we can say, you know, only the mitigation plants can be in that area. So you have to continually monitor for
I
invasives.
could pay for that, but I mean, we would have to have, somehow we would have to, well, there must be experts on vernal pools. We would need a standard for what is a healthy vernal pool, so we can tell if it's being impacted negatively by
Right.
whatever's going on.
Well, in the case of something that's as, shall we say, notorious as a couple hundred unit new housing project on the top of a hill, I don't think we'd have any trouble getting assistance from the state, from MECT, from the stream team. I mean, these aren't complex measurements. Temperature sampling and dissolved oxygen is a simple test, and pH is simple.
But we'll need to set standards of what is a healthy vernal pool.
Yes, well, that's what I'm proposing, that we set
Yeah.
up some standards that say, this is the black letter, this is the red line you don't cross. If you're discharging to a vernal pool, you will
Right.
not have, you can't affect it beyond this. And, you know, I'm sure if the project is of any scale, like the one in Shingle Hill, they're going to do pre and post. They already have
Right.
for the ones that are under their control.
Right.
But yeah, I appreciate your point. Thank you.
Just that my struggle was with, for instance, if we have a standard and they go and do a pre-testing and it's less than our standard, or it's less ideal than our standard, then they'll argue with us and say, how are we impacting it when it hasn't met your standards before we begin?
Yeah,
So
then
we need
we
to
could,
look at that.
yeah, we could still write a condition that says do no harm.
Yeah.
You know, don't make it
No, I
worse.
know where you're coming from, and I agree. I just, in terms of handling it on a regular basis.
Yep, point taken. Well, let me get us something we can put into public view on February 2nd. Next is the final calendar for 2025. It's using the 3-week interval that Sari put together. The last two or several of the last meetings, they're on Tuesdays, they're on a 3-week interval, but one of them is Veterans Day, which doesn't trouble me, but I'm curious if we need to move that one in other people's opinion. And another is December 23rd. The proposal was made to consider December 30th instead, as probably easier in terms of travel. What do people think?
Well, is Veterans Day something that we legally can't have a meeting on?
No, we can have meetings except when there is a vote
Voting.
or an election. So town meeting, we can't conflict with primaries, and general elections, we can't conflict with.
Personally, I don't have trouble with the veterans.
Yeah, I would keep them on Tuesdays and
Okay,
just
what about the 23rd of
make it
December,
simple.
Christmas
Um,
Eve?
I mean, I don't have trouble with that, but people with children might and.
I don't have a problem with it
Okay.
either, that or the 30th. Honestly, it's kind of unfortunate that we have to have a meeting at that time
Right.
of year at all.
Right.
Well, I was very much hoping we would find that the business dropped off so significantly, we'd have a
Yeah,
declare a
I would
recess.
keep it on the 23rd.
Okay,
Yeah,
good, then we're locked down. You can put that on your calendar, the 2025.
Steve?
Yes, Mark.
Steve, one point on Veterans Day, I believe that day is celebrated as a holiday actually on the day, not on Monday. I'm not entirely certain.
Yeah, it is on the
So,
day, I think, always
if
the
it is
11th.
celebrated on the day, then town hall is closed. And, you know, and again, other businesses, whether 1623 will be on a reduced, you know, people as well. So I don't really think it's, you should be holding a meeting that night.
Is it possible to shift it a day, or should we shift it a whole week?
I think it makes sense to shift it a day. That's less disruptive than
Yeah.
shifting it a whole week.
Okay. So we'll look at either the 10th or the 12th.
Yeah, if you were to shift it, I would shift it to Wednesday because Monday is either planning or
Select board.
or select board, yeah, so.
Okay. All right, let's try to move November 11 to 12, which is where the typo put it in the first place. That's good. We should take a vote to authorize dues payment for the Mass Association of Conservation Commissions. Our dues amount for this fiscal year is $640, and that entitles us to free subscriptions and access to all kinds of helplines and projects and reduced pricing for their conference and instructional webinars and things. So I move we authorize $640 from the appropriate fund for that dues. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. All those in favor? Gordon?
Aye.
Aye.
Henry?
Aye.
Olga?
Aye.
And I am an aye. Okay, we're getting down to short strokes here. We may have a new conservation administrator. I think someone has accepted an offer from Greg and Joe, his counterpart in Hamilton. But we're not going to jinx it by applauding yet until the ink is dry on the contract, I guess. I wish we'd had a chance to meet her, but we didn't, as timing worked out. One other thing was just minor, but the litigation with the Corsettis continues, but the court has postponed the hearing from February to April. It's now April 3rd in the afternoon in Lawrence Court, and as far as I know, none of us need to attend. I'll keep you posted. Any other matters not foreseen when we formed the agenda?
Nope.
I have one item. I spoke to the health agent yesterday and this afternoon or just before the meeting, she sent me an email with some questions about the Title V or septic systems as they relate to setbacks for vernal pools. because she says some of the language is confusing. So I'm gonna send this around to everybody, forward it, and if you have opinions, I haven't read it yet. And they're trying to figure out what setbacks apply and under what conditions from vernal pools, so.
Yeah. I assume she means the setbacks in Title V regs, right?
No, I think she's talking about within your general wetlands, your local bylaw.
Nothing confusing about our setbacks. They're enormous, but they're very clearly defined.
Anyway, let's look at it and go from
Yeah,
there.
I mean, I'll send it around,
Yeah.
people can look at it. I haven't read it, so I'm just saying that they had some questions about it, so she did write up
Yeah.
their questions, so.
Fair enough. We'll
That's
take a
it.
look.
Okay.
Thank you. And Olga, you missed yesterday. You may have already heard, though, that Mark said the survey and delineation are completed.
I did, Steve. I read the minutes and I read, Mark has to do all of it.
Mark has a bunch of to-dos, but Mark, you're going to circulate a digital version of that, the plot plan they came up with when they did the survey, and they delineated mainly the wetland boundaries that are near the parking area and potential building sites for additional.
Oh, I'd
affordable
love
housing.
to see it. Thank you, Mark.
Yes, yeah, they did the entire site as well as the survey, topo, buildings, all the other significant features, so.
Super.
Mhm.
Nice. Nice. Okay. That may be it then, and we can move to the motion we all want to hear.
I move that we adjourn.
Is there a
Second.
second?
Second.
Any objections? All right, thank you. Well
Thank you.
under 2 hours.
Thank
Appreciate it.
you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Night.
Bye all.
Yep.